The following presentation is brought to you by The Realm Network.
Hello, everybody. This is Vince Russo, and this is Podcast One and The Realm Network, and I'm here today to introduce you to part two of my interview with the brilliant, beautiful, stunning, vivacious, intelligent Mickie James, one of my all-time favorite knockouts over at TNA, both personally and professionally. I can't say enough about my girl, Mickie James. We're going to get into the second part of my interview with her in just a minute. But as I come on the air today, there are a couple of topics I wanted to discuss with you, but all of them have to go on the back burner due to Stephanie McMahon making a comment on TMZ this morning pertaining to my friend, the late Chyna. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I was really done discussing Chyna. I said my piece in a very moving video. It took everything out of me. I cried, I got mad, I got angry, I cried again. But to me, that was going to be my piece. And I'll tell you why. It's been very difficult for me to deal with the death. And when things get difficult for me, the only way that I can deal with them and move on is to suppress them. I've not been the same person since Chyna's passed. I've thought about Joni every single day, and it's been a really, really rough patch for me. So the last thing I wanted to do was really bring it up and talk about it again. But Stephanie McMahon felt it was necessary to talk about Joni Lauer and talk about Chyna. And not only that, but actually discuss Chyna being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So when asked by a TMZ reporter this morning, here was Stephanie's comment pertaining to Chyna and the Hall of Fame. I'm sure that we will see Chyna in the Hall of Fame at some point in the future. I'm not sure exactly what year that will be, but there's no denying her contributions to the WWE. Let me repeat that, please. I'm sure, and I got to tell you, watch the video. Stephanie really punctuated the sure. I'm sure, a lot more sure than Triple H was about a year ago when Stone Cold Steve Austin asked him the same exact question. You can see Hunter's response to that by going to the video on my site at russosbrand.com. Here Stephanie says, I'm sure. Hunter wasn't sure a year ago because of what Joni, the decision she made of what to do for a living beyond her WWE years. But now in death, Stephanie is sure that we will see Chyna in the Hall of Fame at some point in the future. I'm not sure exactly what year that will be, but there's no denying her contributions to the WWE. So Stephanie is sure that Chyna now, in her death, will definitely be inducted into the WWE's Hall of Fame. And I got to tell you, when you pair this with Hunter's statement about a year ago, when Austin asked him the question, and you could see how uncomfortable Triple H is in answering that question, the contrast between Stephanie's answer and Hunter's answer aren't even in the same galaxy. Why? Simply because Chyna now is no longer with us. Because let's call a spade, and all the footage is out there on YouTube. Chyna was trying to make peace with the WWE. Chyna, her manager, tried contacting the WWE. There is footage of him calling the headquarters. Chyna could not even get them on the phone. That was how important her contributions were to the WWE when she was alive. She could not even get them on the phone. All of this is documented. You're going to see it all. And if this Chyna documentary ever comes out, it's going to be even worse for the WWE because their actions are on video. Not accepting Chyna's calls, not wanting to give this girl the right time of day. Hunter's comments to Stephanie now being sure that Chyna will be in the WWE Hall of Fame because all of her contributions to the company. You know, this past week, I had the honor of interviewing Adrienne Curry. Now, if you know Adrienne Curry, she was America's Top Model. She was the person who married Michael Knight, Peter Brady. So she had the television show My Fair Brady. She was also on The Surreal Life with Chyna, and she became very good friends with Chyna. So I wanted to interview Adrienne and get her perspective of the life of Joni Lauer, you know, in celebration of Chyna's life. And I had a great interview with Adrienne that you're going to hear on the podcast one, you're going to see on the Realm Network. But at the very end of the interview, Adrienne had something very, very poignant to say. And it was short and it was simple. And it related to the comments made by Triple H and Stephanie McMahon after Chyna's death. And Adrienne basically said, you know, I heard their comments, and quite frankly, the only thing I could think of was, shut the F up. You had nothing nice to say about the girl when she was here. Now that she's gone in death, shut the F up. Know when to shut the F up. Know when to say nothing. Stephanie, shut the F up when it comes to Chyna. Because quite frankly, I don't want to hear about her surely being put into the Hall of Fame now that she's dead. And I don't want to hear about all her contributions to the WWE now that she's dead when you wouldn't give her the time of day when she was here. So know when to shut the F up. You know, the WWE knows when to non-comment when they want to non-comment. I've seen them do it 1,000,000 times. So I'm going to give you advice. When it comes to Chyna, shut the F up because of the way you treated her when she was here. There is nothing you can say. There is nothing you can say that's going to make you look good when you could not give the woman the right time of day when she was alive on this planet. And that's documented. That's not me saying that. That is documented. So for the last time, Stephanie, when it comes to Chyna, shut the F up. We don't care what you have to say about her. You didn't care when she was here. Don't care in her death. Phony, 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 absolute horse crap. Now, before I get to Mickie James, I want to let you know that this interview is brought to you by one of my favorite websites on the worldwide interweb because I go on it daily. That is an absolute shoot. I am talking about DraftKings.com. I'm a big fantasy baseball player. I go on there daily and play fantasy baseball on DraftKings.com. But now I'm understanding there is fantasy golf on DraftKings.com. You know, there's something for everybody on this website. Let me tell you a little bit about the fantasy golf. You can experience the thrill of 1-week fantasy golf tournaments this week at DraftKings.com. Amazing prizes are up for grabs each time you play. And this is simple. It's okay if you never played fantasy sports before. Anybody can do this. Let me explain to you how this works. Playing is really easy. It's simple. You just pick 6 golfers before a tournament tees off. You stay under the salary cap and rack up points based on how your plays are performing. You outscore your competition and you win. It's that simple. So whether you're a total golf enthusiast or you just love the thrill of fantasy sports, DraftKings brings the excitement of the game to a whole new level. With every monster drive and made putt bringing you closer to payday, choose from all kinds of sports to showcase your winning skills: baseball, soccer, and even MMA. Millions of sports fans just like you have discovered the magic of DraftKings. Now it's your turn. Use code Vince at DraftKings.com now and play for free with your first deposit in this week's fantasy golf contest with $400,000 in prizes. That's right. I said $400,000. The top prize is $100,000. So you could earn serious cash if you get in the game. That's code Vince to play for free and get a shot at the $100,000 top prize. Only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. Go there, sign up, get your free game. Code word Vince. You might be able to put 100 G's in the back pocket. And 100 G's is what this next interview is worth, because here she is, part 2 of Mickie James, and I will be back on the other end of it. Enjoy the interview.
Yeah. And then, to go into dancing, and this is something that I've not shared with people before, but I feel like I grew up and a small town, middle of nowhere. And I'll say this to you also because it's going to be cool, but I was from when I was 9 years old until 15, I was molested by my step grandfather. So I was acting all my life. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was pretending nothing's wrong, this is normal, because to me, when you learn that young that that's your normal, then that becomes your normal. Yeah. So then you live off of your body and who you are, and you're pretending to be okay and happy and all that other stuff, right? And it wasn't until, because this, it was me and my sister. We grew up 2 years apart, you know what I mean? So it was it wasn't until my sister had the guts to tell someone that he went to jail when I was 16 years old, and you're in the middle of a small town and everybody knows. You know what I mean? It's they're not allowed to use your name or your likeness or anything like that because you're a minority, but they could use his name and that family's names, so then by proxy, everyone knows because it's a small town, right? So for me, that was a really, because I was also, I had horses. So I envisioned myself becoming a horse trainer. That's what I always thought I was going to do. I still have that need, that desire I want to start a therapy barn, but for troubled kids, and kids that are going through crazy stuff, foster children or whatever, to be able to come to and get away, and therapy camps kind of thing, and then give back to society, whether they're, stuck there on, their community service. But there's a unique bond that I found with the horses. That was my escape. That was my, church almost, you know what I mean? So that's been really grounding for me throughout my whole life. Cause I've ridden horses since I was 4 years old. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm twisting, getting all deep on you. But anyway, so that's where I fell into after that. When I got out of high school, I was kind of I went to join the Army Reserves, and then I chickened out.
You've done so
last
much,
minute,
though.
because I was oh my God, that thought to me, to blessing in disguise, the thought to me of going to war and that actually having to be to kill someone, I don't think I could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't think I have it in me to be that person. It's like, I respect and commend every person that puts on the boots and dresses in uniform and serves our country. But I know whether I'm a coward or not, I don't think I could do it. You know what I mean? So chickened out. And then I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to do something, and I just found dancing, and it was easy, and it was what I was used to. You're selling your body, and it's like your body, you don't really have a lot of positive thoughts about your body, right? So to you, it's nothing, right? And then, yeah, through that, like I went into a really dark place. I was like I had, with drugs and alcohol, and just to pretend like everything's okay, and you're just living. And then it wasn't until like I was like sitting there one night, and I would have them turn it on to wrestling every time it was on. Monday nights, Thursday nights, Friday, anytime wrestling was on, it was on if I was working there, right? So I'd watch it.
Can I ask you a personal question? I hope you don't mind, because like I've man, when you hear stories like this, and like you've never been in that kind of a situation before, thank God. Like you can't even imagine it. Like I can't even imagine it. But like, is it when you keep that to yourself, and I mean you literally are destroying yourself from the inside because you can't tell anybody, is the reason like that you can't tell anybody, is it like you said, that you're so young, like you don't know if this is normal or not, and this must be a normal thing? Or is it the whole other side of, oh my gosh, I don't want to get this person in trouble?
It goes both ways. It was, because it's crazy, because I still had a love for him. You know what I mean? Because he was my grandfather, my step grandfather, or whatever, since I was born. It's like, but it's changed, because at first it's like that, but then you start to, as you develop and you learn more, you realize like, this isn't normal. This is not how things are supposed to be. But what am I going to do now? Like, it's been years, and like nobody's going to believe me, or he's going to sell my grandma's horse farm and like he'll you just don't know. All these thoughts run through your head, and you're just scared. You know what I mean? You're just terrified. So yeah, that's kind of like, it's like that whole living in fear. But then
so Mickie, you said like you went to a very dark place and trying to deal with this and whatnot. How do you get out of that dark place? Did you have to go to therapy? Did you do it all on your own? Let me tell you, this is why I'm asking this, and I make no bones about this, okay? And you'll appreciate this, Mickie. Mickie, I've been dealing with depression for 30 years. No BS. Deep depressions at time. Now, I will tell you this, because of the field that we worked in, I see how pills and medication can affect people. So I was like, I never went to a doctor, because I knew a doctor would prescribe me something, because I knew I had a problem, and I was not going to take any medication. So my whole life for 30 years, it's the struggle from within. And I go in and out of it, and it's a constant, battle, because I won't go to a doctor. I won't be prescribed, medication. I won't do any of that. That's why this is interesting to me. Did you pull yourself out, or did you have to get help, or did just one thing turn it around?
It was, I turned it around. You know what I mean? It was one of those things of like, and I've slipped since I turned it around, you know what I mean? But at that point, I was deep in it. Like I was doing like, just to get through the whole thing. Like, it was just one of those, it's completely escaped in the whole dancing scene, and the whole thing. And I was like, oh, you can be a big star in the world of dancing, not that that's super, anything to be proud of. But in my mind, it was like, well, it's getting me away from everything that I know and who I was. You know what I mean? Because I can pretend to be this person, this alter ego that's the stage presence or whatever. And yeah, and the money was good, but I could afford my drug habit, and that was good for me, you know what I mean? And pay my bills and buy nice things or whatever. And it was like, but I was deeply depressed, you know.
Yeah.
So, and
Was there a rock bottom?
yeah, I'd already started wrestling. I'd already signed up, and because I, you know, in the midst of this, and this was probably like 3 months into wrestling that I feel like my rock bottom. I was only training 3 months, so it really was like a hiccup in the jar, you know. But um, I was just like um I was doing cocaine at the time, and I was just like, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was just like, I was skinny, and I looked gross, and I was tired, and I was depressed, and I was exhausted, and I was like, I have to do something. I have to like quit doing what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is not working, and just do something else. And so I quit dancing, and I quit doing, you know, I quit doing drugs, all of it, you know. And I moved back in with my grandma and helped her with the horse farm, and took a job as a waitress at a truck stop, where, you know, I went from making thousands to hundreds, you know what I mean? And said, and then I sat there for a while, and I was like, if I'm serious about being ever making it in the wrestling world, I have to completely change everything I'm doing and focus on that. And just, this makes me happy, being here at the farm and the horses and doing this. And this is kind of like my place in my church. And I just need to kind of dive into this and do wrestling. And if something happens and I start to make some headway, then great. If not, I can always, you know, I'm going to go back to like work, trying to do this farm and do the therapy farm kind of thing. So that's where like that whole transformation and that change. And then I started, you know, I changed schools from that, the school I'd started at. Like a year later, I just started kind of diving deep. I changed schools to the Maryland school, and I just was a weekend warrior, and, you know,
Mickie,
doing
you
the
know
indies. And
you,
then
you know what's amazing to me through all this? Let's face it, a very, very small percentage would have been going through all this and been going to school to get a degree. So like you always like you had, what was that, the backup plan in your mind?
no, I didn't go to school until I debuted on WWE TV. I was going to school full time online. I got my degree online,
Right.
business and operations management, right? So I could run my own business. So I figured, well, we are our own business, aren't we? Like that's kind of what we are. So
Yeah.
made sense to me. So yeah. So then for the first 3 years while I was on the road with WWE full time, I was also going to school full time, getting my degree.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I waited because
Now, why? Because you kind of knew how the wrestling business was, and maybe here today, gone tomorrow, and you wanted stability, or
so yeah, I made the decision when I was sitting in OVW, because I had been there for a while, and you see so many people come and go and never make it to TV, and I'm like, it was then where I started to doubt myself and myself as a performer, because you're sitting there and you're going, oh, why haven't I gone up yet? And I thought I was only going to be here for a few months, and I feel like I'm getting better, and what is it that I don't have that they want? You know, it's all that. So I'm like, I need a backup plan in case this doesn't pan out. You know what I mean? Like, if there's been too many of my friends that have sat here for years and years and years in developmental, and although they have a steady paycheck or whatever, when they get released, they've never made it to TV, and then that's all they know.
Mickie, can I ask you a question? What? Yeah, I hear you, and that's why I want to make a point of this. Why do you think there are a lot of people that are in that same situation that can't understand this is the one business that is not forever, and you could be on top of the world one day and out of a job the next day? Why is it, do you think, that so many people in wrestling, knowing what it is, don't plan for that point B? Is it laziness? Is it denial? What do you I can't understand that. I was in the wrestling business for a month and I got it. I understood it. I got it. These people get it. They understand it. Why aren't they putting a plan B in place? I can't understand that. What's your take on that?
Think, well, for some people, because it's that, you know, you're living the dream and you're living in the moment and you're not thinking ahead to the future. You know, when you're young and like living it up. Like, it's hard to, you're embracing where you're at right now, and you don't, you perhaps don't save the money you should, you don't invest the money you should, you don't like do all these things because you're like, hey, I'm traveling the world, I'm a freaking star, I'm making all this money, I can buy everything I want, I can buy this house and this car, and because it doesn't last forever, and hopefully if you're smart, you do recognize that. And if you have, you're fortunate enough to make a bit of scratch, you put a little bit of aside for the future, or invested in stuff outside of wrestling that might have like some stability. Because shit, I didn't do that. I invested it in music, which is equally silly.
Yeah, that's true. And Mickie, let me ask you this, man. This is a good question to ask you. Listen, Mickie, I could be like so honest. I am right now. I am on the outside looking in. Okay, I look at the product that's out there, and listen, there's no doubt in my mind that I know without a shadow of a doubt I can do better than everybody who is currently doing my job in wrestling right now. But I know from the outside looking in, I am not a political guy. I'd rather be on the outside looking in than play politics. It's not my thing. I never buried people. I never kissed ass to get ahead. That's not my thing. And that's why I'm here, and I'm okay with that. What is more of a political environment, wrestling or music?
They both are equally, I think. They're both equally.
What would the difference be between the two?
Oh gosh, I don't know. They are very similar. Like they're all like, because it's just all, it's politics, and it's a lot. I'm still very new to the music, I think, in that whole industry, and I've only been allowed in certain circles or whatever. But it's definitely interesting, and it's different. It's, for me, like, to see the parallels. I feel like I'm smarter going into the music industry now because I've been there, done that, seen it. Like, you can see a wolf in a minute. It's just, you become so immune to it that it's easier for me. Whereas I think had I even experienced the music, it would have been all new, and I probably would have,
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Mickie, I the thing that amazes me of so many people that I bring on this show, and so many people that are my friends, okay? And they are my friends for a reason. They have good hearts. And I always sit here and say, listen, no matter how hard you try, you can't have a good heart and exist in the wrestling business, because sooner or later it's going to become cutthroat. And if it's not in you to be that way, you're going to get chewed up and spit out. It's just the way it is. And I know so many good people on the outside looking in for that reason. You are one with a beautiful, beautiful heart. Has that been difficult for you? Like, because I know, Mickie, I know there were times in my career, especially WWE, where I had to put such a hard shell around me to protect myself. And then I would just turn around one day and I would say, you know what? I don't like who this person is. I'm not this person. Meanwhile, I would know the politics were going on behind my back. I would know I was being buried. But my whole thing was, you know what? If you want to buy that and get rid of me, then it's going to be your loss, not mine. And quite frankly, that's what happened with me a couple of times. But having such a good heart, how do you get through the minefield sometimes in wrestling and music where a lot of politics is involved?
That's definitely the hardest part. Like, I don't know. I think maybe that's where I fail. That's why I'm sitting here. Maybe. I don't know. It's tough because you do have to put on a hard shell, and you do learn to do that. I think that perhaps my background or whatever made it a bit easier for me to pretend. You know what I mean? Like,
it also made you a hell of a lot tougher, I would think.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. So, because you feel like you've been through some shit. We've all been through our crap. It's not like, but it's just, I don't know. I felt like that more for me. That whole thing helped me to develop into a character, like to turn that character on TV and to turn them off when the red light went off. Like, I felt like that was that definitely aided me in that whole thing, because you
Yeah.
just become accustomed to it, right? So
Yeah.
I think that I think it's just hard because you can't help. I genuinely love wrestling. So everything I do when I go out there, I feel like I'm doing it with my whole heart.
Yeah.
And if my heart isn't in it, then I feel like that will translate on TV, and then the angle then suffers. And I don't ever want to be involved with anything, whether I love the idea or I hate the idea. I don't ever want to not put my whole heart in it, because then I'm part of something shitty and I became it shit. I made it shitty because I didn't believe in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Mickie, you know what? I am listen, I've always been a huge advocate for women's wrestling, always. And I've said this all the time. To this day, it's a very, very sexist business. And I had to fight that my whole entire career. I used to sit there at freaking TNA, and I was the only one that ever looked at ratings. Every time the girls were in the ring, they outdrew the guys. That is a fact. That is not Vince Russo making this up. You're on television to draw ratings. The more people that watch, the more money you're going to make. So therefore, if the entire show is 2 hours of women, I could care less. If they're drawing more, they're drawing more. But listen, I was booking TNA by myself for about 3 months. And during those 3 months, we had 2 knockout matches on every show,
I
because
remember that.
yeah, the ratings told me the girls are outdrawing the guys. Get over it. But here's what's really starting to piss me off, Mickie. It's 2016 now. Are we ever going to get freaking females in management in wrestling? Like, are you kidding me? Like, females can't be involved in creative. Females can't be agents. Is this 1920? And that's really starting to piss me off. We should be real past the time they get on TV. Oh, the divas are allowed 1 match on TV. Are you freaking kidding me? Women should be in creative. Women should be producers. Women should be agents. Why is it so freaking backwards when it comes to women in wrestling?
I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that question, and that's something that I'm trying to figure out. Like, I feel like the tide is starting to change a bit. They've had some of the girls, they've had Sarah come up on the road and be an agent, and I think, Lita's doing some stuff on that level too. So it's definitely cool to see that develop, because I feel like it's been a long time coming, especially for, if nothing else, for the women's segments. It's
Absolutely.
I don't feel like I would never try to feel like I could tell you how to be a man.
No, hey, I got to
mean?
tell you, I got to tell you, Mickie, I had Kenny King on the show. And I never met Kenny King before. I liked him on TV and everything. So I brought him on the show, and Kenny King said to me, he said, Vincent, he goes, Vince, no offense. You can't write for a black man. You're not a black man. You have no idea what we think. You have no idea how we tick, how we're wired. No disrespect. But I sat there and I'm like, you're absolutely right. And with that, how can I possibly write for a woman? But yet there are no women writers.
Right. I mean, you can come up with you guys, like, writers, I feel like they can help come up with the angles and stuff, and maybe even like if it's inspired off of a movie, a type of character. But to say, like, oh, I need you to act this way, or be this way, or do this, and it's like, oh, in like a sexual kind of, it's hard for you to translate that to a female, and it's hard for them to, you don't know how we would do that, just like I wouldn't know how a man would do that.
Right.
It's that whole thing. So I feel like, at least on the women's side, to have female agents that have been there and done that and knows what works and not, as well as writers. It's pretty incredible, because who else knows what a female, just like I'm like looking for those female power kind of characters.
Yeah.
There, since Karen did it amazingly, when she was like the leader of the Knock, like that was a really cool role. And Vicky Guerrero was one of the best at it, like, especially recently. It's just power couples and those massive, like, power inflicted females. Right now Stephanie is it, and so it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of that. Oh, there's only the spots for the valets and the and the female wrestlers when there's so much more that we feel
Oh
like
my
we
God.
can
Yeah,
add.
I was so lucky. Because, I mean, it kind of started like, I mean, with Sable and Chyna. And that's exactly who they represented. They were power women and the way they carried themselves. And I mean, and it's kind of digressed, but it's like, I'm not even like talking about in front of the camera anymore. We need to women need to get involved in behind the scenes. I just
that would
don't
be
get
amazing.
it.
That would be amazing. I think that we all like, not, certainly I feel like that would be something that I would enjoy doing, behind the scenes stuff, because you get to a point where, I still want to wrestle and I love wrestling and I love that whole aspect of it. But eventually you'd like to train yourself and learn more behind the scenes. I thought that was like really beneficial when we would get to go to the trucks at TNA and kind of watch how the camera angle shot and how Keith kind of directed in the truck while you could hear through the monitor. That was a really unique experience for me because I started to learn how all that stuff was done, which you have no idea. You only know one side of it. It just makes you more diverse and just more valuable as a player, like long term.
Well, Nick told me you guys went on a tour and you were agenting, and he says, you were doing a job better than the guys. And I mean, I have no doubt believing that.
He's sweet. He's biased.
Well, no, I mean, no, Mickie, listen, listen, you have the mind. I mean, you and the personality, because, there's a lot of psychology involved in getting the wrestlers to do things a certain way. But how did that come about that you even had the opportunity, and how was that experience for you?
Oh, it was fun. And I think, it was fun. You get to kind of like think of how the angles for the matches and how you think that they kind of should go. And it's a lot easier when it's not for TV, for sure. Right. Like,
yeah.
It was just like the little spot shows or whatever, but you're trying to tell the stories. But, I love that aspect of it too. Like the teaching, like we've done seminars recently, and to be able to train and work with people and kind of share what you've learned, along the way, like through different experiences with them. It's that for me, like recently has been really fun.
Yeah.
Just kind of like giving back in a little bit,
Yeah. Mickie, let me ask you this now. Like what next for you? I mean, you've done so many things now. Donovan's going to slow you down. He's got to slow you down a little bit.
He does, yeah.
But like
in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. But
I'm chasing him around all the time.
Yeah. But like, is it like you've done so many things and you're always doing so many things at once? As you get older, is that starting to funnel to a priority? Like I'm still doing everything, but I'm kind of funneling to this, which is what I really want to hang my hat on as I get older. Are you there yet, or you're still doing everything you can?
Well, no, I'm not doing everything I can. Obviously, Donovan is my priority. I feel like everything that I'm focusing on right now is what am I going to do and how can I provide the best life for him? And like, I still want to, obviously we all have goals and there's things that we want to do. And you're like, I think because this is all we know, there's always that, well, what about if I did, this one last TV run character kind of thing. But as you know, all that's out of your hands. Like it's not like you can just like walk up to TV and be like, hey, I have this idea, guys. It's going to be great. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you just kind of sit back. I've been focusing on getting back in shape because that's been a task in itself, finding the time. And I'm like, well, chasing after Donovan. And I love being a mom and I love our, like, especially now because he's going on, he'll be 2 and then he'll start, pre-kindergarten and all that stuff. So it's really like this 2.5 years that I really, am enjoying our real bond of like where I'm going to have them pretty much all the time. But yeah,
is a family in the mix?
You mean like to have another?
Yeah.
Not yet. I think because I feel like I want more of I need to have something secure and a secure foundation before I start thinking ahead into that.
That makes sense. I mean? It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. And right now it's good because we have a set, and obviously I'm back to working and I'm still doing things, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. Honestly, Vince is like, I don't know what's next.
Yeah,
I'm just
one day at a
plugging
time.
away and doing what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
as long as I'm loving what I'm doing and, he's not ever suffering from like as if I'm being selfish, then I think I'm good.
Now, does Nick change diapers?
Yes, he does.
Can you get some pictures? Can you get some pictures of that? I'd really be interested in seeing that. That would kill his image 1,000%.
You think so?
Absolutely. He's Mr. Mom when you're not around, Nick.
Yeah, he's actually a really good dad.
Does he cook?
Yes. He put chicken in the crock pot this morning. Yeah.
Does he clean the house? A little dust in here, vacuum. Put a vacuum in his hand.
It might be the one where he does not like to wash dishes or.
Oh, I hate that, Mickie. You know what drives me crazy now? I'll be honest with you. Like all my podcasting, I podcast like 6 days a week, but I'm always working I podcast from home.
Yeah.
So because I'm home, in my wife's mind, I'm home.
Right.
So like every single day I got to do the freaking dishes and it drives me. I hate freaking dishes. And you know what she makes me do, Mickie? Please tell me you're not one of these wives. Okay. She makes me wash the dishes before I put them in the dishwasher.
Yes.
Why?
He never does it. He never does it. That's the thing is like he cooks 6 times a day. Like because he has to eat 6 times a day, right?
The rest of the diet. Yeah.
So, well, he'll cook like at least 4 times a day. So 4 times a day, I'm cleaning up dishes from the kitchen like that he's cooked and just left them sitting there, right? So I'm like, you could at least just put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Right? Just rinse them, but he doesn't understand the whole rinse before the to him. It's like, but the food, because by the time you start the dishwasher, that food is now dried up on those plates and all that stuff. And then it's shooting up, all those dried up spits are shooting up in the glasses and they're getting stuck in there. And then so you have to choice. So then you have to wash them after they're washed.
But then why can't you just wash them and be done with it and not put them in the dishwasher?
You could do that.
Yeah, she drives me crazy with that. I had enough of that with the dishes, Mickie, to be honest with you. Now, Mickie, let me ask you this. I know, you guys are basically working everywhere, but I know you're doing a lot of work now for Global, for Jeff's gimmick, right?
Right. Well, yeah, we just did that show in Poughkeepsie this weekend, which went really well, and then the show obviously was canceled because of the blizzard, big blizzard.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
How is it like having your husband on the road? Like how is that?
It's great. It's great, especially because when we have Donovan on the road, it's sometimes you want to choke each other, obviously.
Yeah.
Because we're home all the time with each other, and then we're on the road together. But he chooses not to choke me in the same. So, but we have fun. The thing is, because we're so in the same mindset, like we want to go to the gym. There'll be, if you're snowed in Poughkeepsie, you'll just sit in the room all day and order Chinese.
Yeah. But now, do you guys get with Donovan? Do you get the one bed and Donovan's in the middle, or do you get twin beds and Donovan sleeps with one of you?
We've tried both ways. I feel that we've had the most success, and we tend to lean towards the king bed with him in the middle. Because we put him in the pack and play, and we'll put him in, but it's not the same as his bed, and he just doesn't. He ends up like a third through the night back in the bed.
So everybody's there, one big happy family.
One big happy
family. That's a beautiful
room too, because he's horizontal. We're like on the edges, like oh.
What a pleasant way to end the interview. The picture of the beautiful family in the bed on the road. Mickie, listen, is there anything before we go, anything you want to plug, tell people where they can reach you, anything going on you want to get out there?
Oh yeah, I guess I was like, oh, not really, but yeah, we have a seminar with Jake the Snake coming up in March with the Superstar Seminars in Richmond, Virginia, which should be awesome. And like everyone that attends the camp will get a free ticket to his unspoken word show. Like he's going on tour with his speaking, like telling road stories. It's going to be awesome. So we have that coming up in March, as well as I guess we're doing the GFW shows, and I'm doing my first ever seminar in the UK.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, Bill DeMotta. I'm a good friend of Bill's. He told me that you did that with him and that you were tremendous.
His was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you saw it he did the thing on his YouTube channel, but even I was inspired by him at that camp. Like, he made everybody cry. Earl Hebner cried. Everybody cried.
Bill's the real deal, man. He's a man's man, old school. That's why I love him.
I love Bill. I adore Bill. But yeah, so and he was kind enough to do the first one with us. And then so these will be the second and the third one. So we'll see how those go. And then yeah, going back in the studio, hopefully writing songs. And I have these shows in Georgia and Louisiana coming up in March as well. So
And you guys are living in Virginia now?
yeah.
Is that where you're from?
I am. Yeah.
So you got a lot of family around and whatnot.
I do. Yeah, which is really, it makes things a lot.
Oh, of course.
Nick would love to be in Florida where the weather is sunny and beautiful and, he never has to put on a jacket. But for me, especially right now with Don, it just makes things so much easier. And I just love the fact that he has family around him to help.
Yeah, of course. That's so important. That's so important. Yeah. Well, Mickie, listen, I thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I got to know you a little better. What amazes me.
I'll be honest, I was terrified to come on here.
About what?
I thought, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if you remember this. I was like, I've always thought you always thought you liked me, but I was like, I don't know if he really loves me.
Was the dog, I think, the dog.
Was it the dog?
No,
yeah.
no.
Well,
No, Mickie.
I don't know if you remember this, but when I first was at TNA the first go around, and I was doing that whole angle with Raven and all that, and then I left. I had that tryout with Dawn Marie. Do you remember this?
I don't remember it. I remember
you cut a promo on me so big, and I was like,
I cut a promo on you? Tell me about this, because I don't remember. What happened?
I had been doing, obviously, TNA was still in its very baby stages at the time. And you were the writer for TNA, and we were doing the shows on the Wednesdays at the fairgrounds. And Raven had brought me in, and we were doing that whole thing, and it was CM Punk. I had and Julio De Niro.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I got to tell you, I want to hear this story, but I have to say this. And I'm trying to get him on the show, for crying out loud, but Raven had such an eye for talent, and I give him all the credit in the world. He's got a great creative brain, and the stuff he saw in you and CM Punk way before anybody else did. I always say that with Raven, man, because he's responsible for a lot of people. But I want to hear this story because I absolutely forgot it.
Okay, so yeah, I love Raven. I mean, he found me. I was working with Ring of Honor, and he brought me in and he was working with CM Punk at Ring of Honor. So that's how that whole thing kind of transpired. But anyway, so I had also been doing, because TNA didn't have contracts at the time, right? So I'd been doing tryouts with WWE, I don't know, every other weekend or at least once a month. I would do a tryout. So they had me come in, and I wrestled on. I did a dark match for SmackDown on the Tuesday taping, and I wrestled Dawn Marie, which was my tryout match, and I lost, but it was all over the internet, which to me, I'm like, what's the internet? I don't know. Where's about the internet, right? It was so this is how long. So you're and I came back to TV because we had TVs, and you're like, what's wrong with you? How dare you do the job at a tryout, and you're my star on TV? You were so pissed.
Wow, real? See, I don't remember. How could I?
It was towards the tail end, and I got signed a month later because,
God, how could I be pissed at you?
I was understood, but I'm like, but I really want to get a job there.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It was totally it's all business. But I was like, I don't know if I just didn't know. You didn't even remember it, so
I didn't remember that at all. At all.
Me for this reason.
No,
12 years ago.
Mickie, you know why I love doing this? I'll tell you why I love doing this. Because, man, and especially at TNA where we work together. First of all, you go to a TNA taping and you're doing 8 shows in 2 days. So everything is work. I can't believe how many people I worked with that I knew nothing about, because there was no time for small talk, getting to know you, getting to know what you were about, because it was work, and, trying to, stuff, 8 pounds of what in a 5-pound bag. And I work with so many people, and I walked away, and I'm like, I don't know anything about these people. That's why I love doing this, and that's why I don't want to talk about wrestling, because now I have the opportunity to talk to you and find out about you.
Right. No, it's cool. It was really cool to do this, actually.
Oh yeah, and I'm real sorry about that. Now I feel bad, man.
No, don't feel bad.
Now I feel bad. Well, Mickie, listen, thanks for joining us. And don't hang up. I'm going to wrap up, but I want to give you a personal goodbye. You know, I hate to wrap up cold, but thank you so much for joining us here today, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, everybody. The conclusion of my interview with the great Mickie James. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed conducting it. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Mickie James. It was a great honor and privilege to get to work with her at TNA, where she was clearly the locker room leader for the TNA knockouts. The girls looked up to her. They trusted her. They went to her for guidance and wisdom. It was individuals like her and Tara that really led the way for the female division at TNA, and it was my honor to work with both of those individuals. Now, listen, as I'm doing this show, news is breaking on the internet that the WWE has released 8 talents. And a couple of those talents are pretty darn good talents. I'm going to tell you what I think about that in a minute. But before I do, we have to conduct a little bit of business. I got to tell you about my sponsor, True Car. Now, there's something about True Car a lot of people don't understand. Using True Car can also help you buy a used car. In fact, there are over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from True Car certified dealers nationwide. Whether you are looking to buy new or used, you can get upfront pricing information that empowers discounts off the list price for used cars and a better buying experience through our True Car certified dealer network. Let me tell you a little bit more about True Car. As I said, there are over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from True Car certified dealers nationwide. You'll see what other people paid for the car that you want, so you know what a fair price is, and you'll feel confident giving that fair price. With True Car, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. Using the True Car website or the True Car app, you can easily find the new or used car that you want. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the True Car app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states. That's TrueCar.com. Okay, as I said, 8 people were released from the WWE today. A couple of them to talk about. We knew about King Barrett because we knew that he had asked for his release. Cameron, we just talked about her yesterday and some of the comments she made online where, listen, I have no problem with you speaking your mind and giving an honest opinion. But I also know, working at the WWE for 5 years, you can't do that. You don't have the freedom of speech at the WWE that you should have. So a lot of times when you have an opinion, you have to keep it to yourself. And we saw just a couple of days ago, she sided with Ryback. And I guess that wasn't a good idea for the very talented Cameron. My good friend, Zeb Coulter, Dutch Mantel, he was released, which really isn't a surprise. They haven't been using, they haven't used Dutch as of late. That's not a big surprise, but that's good for me because I'm definitely going to bring Dutch Mantel on this show. Hornswoggle was let go. El Torito was let go. But here's the big one to me. This is the huge one to me. Damien Sandow was released from the WWE. And I got to tell you something, man. When Damien Sandow was playing the stand-in to The Miz, that was the most entertaining thing I had seen in 2 years on WWE television. And basically what Sandow did was he took chicken shit and he made it into chicken salad. Being the stunt double of The Miz was the highlight of the show for me every single week. I can't even remember an instance where I was sitting there with my wife and I was telling my wife, you have to watch this guy. My wife doesn't watch wrestling, has never watched wrestling. We've been married for 33 years. I made her watch Ms. Dow, and she thought it was entertaining, hysterical. She enjoyed it, and Sandow did an incredible job. As we know, from there, he went to, imitating Savage. That didn't work out because of what happened with Hoger and, the comments he made and the sex tape and yada, yada, yada. So Sandow found himself on the bench again, not being used. Well, today he was released from his WWE contract. And I got to tell you something. It sucks for anybody to lose their job. It's a horrible thing for anyone to lose their job. But I got to be honest with you, with people like Cameron, people like King Barrett, and especially a guy like Sandow, it may be a good thing. Because let me tell you something, the old saying is true. Cream always rises to the top, and you can't keep good talent down. These were some really good talents, and they will find their way. I'm telling you, King Barrett and Damian Sandow would be huge at TNA. Now, I don't know if TNA could afford the contract. I don't know what's going on at TNA, but I could tell you right now, if I was writing for TNA, I would welcome both of these talents with open arms. I think Cameron is very, very talented. I think they're going to be okay. Sometimes, it takes something like this for your career to go to the next level. Yeah, it's nice to work for the WWE. We all know that's the major leagues. We all know that that's the biggest game in town. But if you're spinning your wheels there and getting frustrated and really not going anywhere, sometimes you need that new opportunity. So for all those people that were released today, and Cameron, I got to tell you, I already said this. I'm on your side for speaking your mind. Trust me, to have the integrity to say how you really felt, there are going to be people out there that respect that. And there are going to be people out there that want you to be a part of their organization. So, Cameron, keep your chin up. There are going to be other opportunities out there. You're too talented in TNA. John Gabrick, if you're listening, Sandow and Barrett would be huge assets for that TNA locker room. If the money is there, I have no idea at this point in time. Well, everybody, as we look ahead to next week, I want to basically tell you next week, a very special Vixens Who Rule, where I spoke to Adrian Curry. Adrian Curry was the first America's Top model. From there, she went on to marry Peter Brady. They had the show My Fair Brady. She also did the Surreal Life with Chyna, and they became very good friends on that show. So it was an honor for me to interview Adrian, get some real insights about Chyna, their relationship, some of the things that Adrian saw, and it was really a great conversation. In honoring Chyna and talking about the life of Chyna, because I know Adrian loved her just as much as I did. And listen, I'm just telling you, Adrian Curry was America's Top model, an absolute natural beauty. I've interviewed a lot of beautiful women on this show, and I will continue to do so. But when it comes to natural beauty, Adrian Curry was off the charts. And for 75 cents a week, you might want to catch this interview on video. Remember, if you go to the realmnetwork.com, you can sign up through russosbrand.com. You get all our podcasts here on Podcast One a day earlier on video. You also get exclusive content that you're not going to get here on Podcast One. So next week, it's going to be a two-parter with Adrian Curry. I think, well worth the $295 a month to actually see the interview, not only see her beauty, but see her emotion. When she talks about her friend Chyna, I'm very, very proud of that interview. And also, Yes, it's a great week next week to join the Realm Network through russosbrand.com. Kevin Nash will be on The Swerve. Me and Big Sexy. It'll be an interview over 2 weeks. You'll be able to see that as well. That's going to happen next week. Tomorrow's show is the Raw Now and Then show. We're going to look at the Attitude Era, and we're going to compare it and contrast it with the current episode of Raw. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. Also, I want to tell you about kayfabecommentaries.com, the brand new DVD out, the WCW timeline with Kevin Nash, a 3-hour DVD where Kevin talks about rejoining WCW. You know, remember when him and Scott Hall went there? It was historic. The height of the NWO, the height of the Monday Night Wars, what happened at the tail end when WCW went out of business. It's a great story told by Kevin Nash. I tell you a million times, Sean Oliver is one heck of an interview, and Kevin Nash is one heck of an interviewee, about as honest as they come. Check it out at kayfabecommentaries.com. Also, if you want the straight news, no BS, the straight news, go where I go every week. My buddies Raj, my buddy Sean at WrestlingInc.com. Well, there you have it, everybody. Another show. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back here tomorrow. Raw, the Attitude Era, Now and Then. Hope to see you then, everybody. Have a fantastic day.